13. Tap in. Get that weasel up off you. Weasel free mentality. I like that chapter. I learned. Chapter 13. What if this succeeds? The other day I came across a demo version of a song I had written a long time ago. I played it for Harley. It was about 10 years old, and it was cringe and inducing to say the least. I was laughing out loud as we listened to it because I couldn't believe we had even thought it was worth recording at the time. I watched Harley's face, and she looked confused and a little annoyed. Finally, she said, "Why are you playing this?" It was her polite way of begging me to turn it off. But then, about 2 minutes in, we came to one line that she recognized, and her facial expression changed. You see, even though most of that song ended up on the cutting room floor, there were a few lines that went on to become part of another song that we sing today, years later. In fact, it's one of the most real songs our church has ever released. It turned out that even a bad song were the good lines. I remember writing sessions around that first track. We tried time after time to make it work, to force it to take shape. And every time we failed, it was frustrating, but eventually those failed attempts produced a beautiful thing that continued to encourage people and point them to God. Buried within something bad were the seeds of something special. Why do I share this? Because it's true. In many areas of our lives, often the seed of tomorrow's success is hidden within today's failure. Great things rarely come easily. They hardly ever happen on the first try. That's the unsexy truth of the creative process, and it's the reality of life in general. It's true whether you're trying to start a business, learn a sport, take up a hobby, record an album, write a children's book, become an influencer, invent new technology, or anything else that stretches you beyond your current capacity. Tom Waits, the famous singer, songwriter, once said in an interview, "Some songs don't want to be recorded. You can wrestle with them, or you'll only scare them off more. Trying to capture them is trying to trap birds. Some songs come easily like digging potatoes out of the ground, or like gum found under an old table. Some songs are only good to cup up as bait and to catch other songs." I love the imagery there, and I think it applies to more than their songwriting. The complexity and the frustration he expressed are relatable to anybody. Growth isn't a linear progress. You don't always go from one successful version of yourself to the next, or from one victorious event to another. Often, like Tom Waits says about those songs that are only good for bait, you have to repurpose pieces of your failure to reframe your future. Remember, the new you mentality says, with God, there's always a way, and by faith I will find it. Exploring possibilities and knocking on doors can feel complex and frustrating. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong, though. It's just that's what you have to remind yourself. You're trying something new. You're building something step by step, and that is going to feel messy. At first, that thing you're doing, like the song I played for Harley, might seem to suck. You might say, "Why am I here? Why am I doing this? What is the point of this? This is embarrassing." But maybe what you think sucks is actually a seed. Maybe your future will be found in your frustration. Maybe it will flow from your failures. Maybe your first drafts, your first steps, your first attempts will set something in motion that God will make beautiful in His time. Instead of getting depressed over the inevitable mistakes along the way, why not focus on the possibilities ahead? Why not dream about what could happen? Imagine the people you could impact. Imagine the legacy you could leave. Imagine the quality of life you could enjoy and the satisfaction you could experience. I came across a scripture several years ago that talks about this, and I have gotten obsessed with it. I find it to be mysterious, and yet in this mystery, it's clarifying. Sow your seed in the morning, and at the evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will actually do will or whether both will actually do equally well. That's a verse in the Bible. Ecclesiastes 11-6. Often, I think we don't initiate the things we hold in our hearts because we're intimidated by its fear-infusing question. What if it fails? Someone once suggested to me, why don't you flip the question, say it to yourself, what if it works? It sounds simple, but you have to make that switch changes everything. But to make that switch changes everything. That's what Solomon is doing in this verse. Flip the question. Don't just sit around wondering if your ideas might work or not. Try this and try that, because maybe one will succeed, or maybe both will succeed, but what you don't know until you try. But you won't know until you try. So sow your seed. The old you might have said, what if this crashes and burns? I'd better not even try. Or if I do try, I'm going to aim low. I'm going to expect the worst. I'm going to quit at the first sign of resistance. That version of you might have made excuses, led with disclaimers, and written a resignation speech before failure had even happened. The economy is so bad, this probably won't work. There's so much competition, so I doubt I'll succeed. I'm going to try, but I'm not going to get my hopes up high. But that's not the you that God sees. That's not the new you. The new you, the authentic, faith-filled, possibility-focused you doesn't ask, what if this fails? But rather, what if this succeeds? Why not start from that mentality rather than assuming the worst? Why not aim high and risk disappointment rather than aiming low and guaranteeing a life filled with what is? Instead of predicting your own failure, say, what if this succeeds beyond my wildest dreams? What if this turns into something I love? What if God plans to take this places I never expected? I wrote something down on a sticky note recently. By the way, I have sticky notes all over my house to keep myself on track because I need the reminders. On this one, I wrote, the so sad, but not so surprising statistics of unsown seeds. But 100% of unsown seeds fail to sprout and grow. The point I was making to myself was that seeds that are never sown will never succeed. They have a 100% failure rate. The seeds of the words we didn't speak. The seeds of the yeses we couldn't quite commit to.